Let's connect now in our corporate corner with the management of GSFC. Delivered its first quarter numbers, and while the revenues have degrown, the profit after tax has dropped 40% on account of the rise in interest cost. However, on the margin front, that has been a saving grace. So let's talk about the overall numbers with Mr. V.D. Nanavaty. He's the ED of Finance and the CFO with GSFC. Mr. Nanavaty, thank you for joining us. You know, in the first quarter, there was a lot of talk about this entire delayed sowing of the Kharif crops. But of course, now it has caught up significantly with, the usual levels you see in the last year. So was there any impact of this delayed monsoon on your first quarter numbers?
Yeah, so of course, the revenue numbers in fertilizers are more compared to Q1 last year. But overall, the shift in the rain pattern has definitely impacted us in the first quarter, and as you know, the second quarter will be good with widespread rains across the country.
All right, Mr. Nanavaty, your fertilizer products have registered a mild growth for the quarter, while your industrial products recorded a 25% revenue reduction for Q1. Could you this compartmentalize a little and tell us more about the segmental performance? And there has been a significant also, if you see, uptick in your finance cost.
Yeah, so fertilizer, we will see the improvement. The first quarter is really the not the Kharif quarter for the country. So Q1 remains on a lower scale little bit every time. Industrial products, we had a long shutdown in this ammonia 4 plant in the factory for almost 64 days out of 90 days in Q1. So the availability of industrial products was less, so which will now pick up with the regular production coming. And the caprobenzene spread also went down from around $1,250 last year to around $1,050 this year. So the revenues on chemical side were affected. So both quantity availability and the decrease in the prices of caprolactam affected the numbers by 100 crores in this industrial product segment.
Mr. Nanavaty, that was, of course, segment revenues, but the profit after tax mainly has been hit because of the surge in interest costs. So what's the reason for that? I mean, has there been any increase in your borrowings, short-term, long-term borrowings, and if you have any deleveraging plans?
Yeah, so we had capitalized melamine 3 plant in Q4 last year, so the small long-term loan taken for that financing has resulted in some 4 crore rise in the interest cost. Otherwise, as you may recall, the Reserve Bank prohibited the buyer's credit because of this Punjab National Bank issue with Mehul Choksi. So that was a very cheaper finance available to us till last year, which was substituted by the higher cost finance because of the ban on this product. So that also increased the interest cost a little bit. And of course, now with the subsidy approvals of Government of India in place and regular subsidy coming, I think we should see some reduction in these interest costs in the Q2.
Okay. What about CapEx, in either of the segments in the recent past? Of course, you mentioned about the new capacity, which, has been capitalized now. But do you plan on adding any new capacities now? And also, if you could talk to us about the current capacity utilization in, both the fertilizer and the industrial segments?
Yeah, so we added solar plants, that is to reduce our electricity and power costs. So that was done in Q1 at around 60 crores capex. And as I said, last Q4 we added melamine 3 plant at the cost of some 800 crores. And we are working on the medium-term plans to set up phosphoric acid facility and sulfuric acid facility in Sikka. That will take some 2.5 years from now. And there are other plans to increase capacities in chemical segment also. Otherwise, the present plants are all running above 100% capacity, and there are no demand constraints from any of the segment, either fertilizer or chemical. To some extent, the caprolactam goes for nylon tire cord, which is ultimately used in the automobile tires. So since automobile sector is affected, there is some impact on this one segment in the chemical side. Otherwise, we don't see any constraint on demand side in either of the segments, as well as there are no constraint on production side from our plant. So going forward, we see a growth.
Mr. V.D. Nanavaty, thank you for joining us on the show, taking us through the earnings picture for GSFC and what the outlook looks like from here on.